matrices is all about rows and columns. So I have rows, I have columns. So when I'm reporting something, I usually, when I'm analyzing my data, I usually have a requirement of showing the counts, basically sums at the row and column wise. So I'll just show you a small utility, a function of matrices, how to sum rows and how to sum columns. There is a function called row sums. So important thing here is the middle S is capital here. You remember we discussed R is case sensitive. So if I give the right case to R, then only it will understand about the functions. So over here we have capital S in the middle. You remember the matrix we created, M, matrix data only for label, C, combining function 2, 3, 4, 5 elements, number of rows 2, number of columns 2. So if I want to create sum of rows, so how I'll do about it? So we know the function row sums. So I'll assign a name to it, so I can later on see what is stored in the sum of rows. So the name will be M underscore R sum. You can do it as per your convenience. I'm keeping it so I can recall better. So it's going to be row capital S SUMS sums. That's the keyword which R will identify about the function. Inside that argument, I will give the name of the matrix. So my name of the matrix is M. So if I do that, and press enter, it will show me MR sum. So I can see the list of elements. I have a matrix M. You can see, I just see it's already there in the console. I've already created that in the last session. So if you were also done it, use the same one. So now I'll do M underscore R sum. I'll do what? R row sums. So row capital S MUS sum SUMS sums, small m, the name of the matrix, M R sum. So M, if I want to see what is there in M R sum, I'll type that and press enter. So it will give me that. So that's how we sum the rows. So rows like that, for example, if I have 2, 3 here, so sum will be 5. So in this case, we have 2 and 4, so sum will be 6. We have 3 and 5. In the second row, sum will be 8. 6 and 8. Okay. So that's on the row sums. So now if I have a requirement of adding the columns, adding the call sums. So similarly, as we have row sums, we will have call sums. Syntax remains the same. Middle S is capital. You have to remember that. And within the argument, we have to pass name of the matrix. So I'll get back to the console again and do a similar thing. So for example, I did M R sum. Now I'll do M call sum, COL call sum. So this is call, similar. Okay. So I'll press enter. So now it will be M underscore call capital SUM sum. Okay, so it gave me an error that it says object not found. The reason is because I have entered capital S when calling the M call sum variable, but ideally I defined it small s. So this is what the error was. So now what I'll do, I'll just make it small s and it tells me the 5 and 9. Let's assume you missed to add a column, right, into a matrix, right? Or you missed to add a row. So how to go about it? So we have two functions here. One is cbind, which talks about column bind, okay, and another function called row bind, which basically call about r bind, which is about row bind. So how to go about it? Important thing here is to understand, if you see in the slides also, whatever I want to add as a column, I have to define that as a vector. So let's assume over here, if you see C is my vector, which I wanted to add as a column. Okay, so what I'll do, C, again C is for combine, that C is a variable name, 8 and 9. Okay, so if I do that, it will come as 8 and 9. Okay, so let me go back to the console. So here it is. So what I'll do, I'll create, okay, so I'll create a vector C, 8, 9. So my vector is there, C. So now what I wanted to do, I wanted to get a new matrix, okay, with a new column. So M underscore new, and I'm going to go cbind, and the I'm going to pass in that cbind function name of the matrix and the column which I want to combine. So here it is m_new. So you can see a new column is added. Okay. So now how we do in the case of rows, as we were doing cbind, now we'll do rbind and same thing. And again, I have to make sure that I define a vector before doing an rbind, which I wanted to bind basically. Okay, so let me go back. So this time I'll define a vector r which says comma 6 comma 7. Here it is. So now it's going to be m_, let's assume row, new row I'm adding. So it's going to be r bind. Okay, I'm going to pass m, I'm going to pass r. Okay, so here it is. So what I can see m_row. So a new, if you see a new row added as 6 and 7. So that's how it is. So now next step is that if now I have created a data object like matrices. So how I'll extract or select elements from it. So to do that, as we did in the vector side, we can do the same thing, use of square brackets to select one or more elements from a matrix. So whereas vector has 1 dimension, matrix has 2 dimensions. So we should use a comma when I'm selecting something out of a matrix with the help of square brackets. So remember, we used to have a vector a, x or something, right? And if I want to select the first element of the vector, what I used to do, x square bracket 1, right? If I want to select the fifth element, x square bracket 5, right? So that's how I used to do. So now in case of matrix, right? So I created, for example, let's assume I created, if you see the slides, my_ matrix, okay? And I give 1, 2. So when I say 1, 2, it selects the first row and the second column, okay? So what it will give me? The element sitting at first row and the second column, okay? So it will give me that element out, single element. So now let's assume I want to result in a matrix, okay? I want to extract a matrix out of a matrix, okay? So how will do it at? So I will give 1:3, that's the range I'm giving. So it means what? That I want 1:3 rows. So basically row 1, 2, 3, all these 3 rows, and 2:4 the columns, right? So 2:4 column should be extracted. So how it will happen? So 3 rows, let's assume 1, 2, 3, and let's assume this first, second, 3, 4 columns. So I'll have a second column, third column, and fourth column. So that sub matrix will be out. Okay. So how to do that? 1:3, 2:4. So now if you want to select all elements of a row or a column, no number is needed before and after the comma respectively. So basically what if I want to extract everything out of it, right? So I have to give a blank. Okay. So for example, if let's assume if you see the slide, my matrix, I give a blank comma 1. So what will do? All the rows for column 1 for the first column, right? So similarly, let's assume I give 1 comma and then blank. So it will give all the elements of first row. You see, we are back on the R console. So let me type C. We already have a matrix M, right? So now let's assume I want to extract 1, 2. So what will be out here, guys? 1, 2 should give me 4 because I have 4 there. It gave me 4, right? So now if I want to get 1:2, okay, comma 1:2 row and second column only, let's assume, okay? So it gave me 4 and 5. So 1:2 row and second column is 4 and 5 elements, okay? So now another one, if I want to get all rows for the first column, 2, 3, right? First column values 2 and 3, basically whole column, right? So now if I want to go other way around, first row for all the columns, it gave me 2, 4, right? So this is how we extract elements from a matrix. Let's get back to the slides again. Okay. So we learned about how to select from matrix element. So the next one, you remember in our previous video, we were discussing about cars. Okay. So now you remember we have created two vectors, type and mileage. So now let's get to another vector, which is price and number of cylinders. I'll get back to you why am I asking you to do this again. So price and number of cylinder, and if you remember, if you not have that in your console, I would highly recommend you create type and mileage again, right? So that you can see the benefit of this in the continuation. So in the case of price, so what I'm doing here, I'm creating a numeric vector price combining 36790, 3445, 66789, 2445 and 76889. So these are just random numbers. So this for demonstration purposes. Number of cylinders in the engine 34444, right? So 5 elements we have. So we have two vectors. So before getting into it, so now remember how many vectors we have. We have a type, mileage, price and number of cylinders. So 4 vectors, right? So guys, now what we're going to do, we're going to start another data object after this, which is called data frames. So data frames, it's a 2-dimensional object. It's another R object you can consider as we call vectors, matrices, right? So now the next in the R objects is data frames. It's a very important one because now on, I think most of the things will work on data frames only. So it can hold numeric, character or logical values. So imagine, you remember in the vector we have a limitation that if I'm having a vector, it can store either character or numeric, correct? So I have two type of vectors, right? So if imagine you have a need of storing multiple type of information into a single data object. So for example, you want to hold characters, you want to hold numbers, you want to hold logical values like true, false kind of a scenario in a single data object. So the solution to that is your data frames. Okay. So, but the condition here is that each column should have same data type. Okay. So for example, if you have a column age, it should only expect numbers. Okay. And if you have a column gender, or you have a column maybe, what do you say, organization name, it expects characters, right? So that's the expectation. So don't go back the real deep into the column understandings, but only important thing in the case of data frame is that each column has a same data type, but different columns can be of different data types. Okay. And again, the important thing is when I'm creating a data frame, the number of the values in the same column should be same. Okay. So we'll talk about it. So remember we created type, price, mileage, number of cylinders, right? So these vectors. So now if I want to combine them together, so data frame is my solution. So how I will do it? So I'll have a name of the data frame. In this case, we are talking about cars. So I'll have cars. Data.frame is the keyword which tells the R. It's the syntax basically tells the R I'm going to create a data frame. So it expects me to put data objects like vectors. So type, price, mileage and number of cylinders. So if I do that, I'll get a data frame like this. Okay. So you saw this. We created a type vector, character 1, compact, minivan, SUV, roadster, pickup truck, right? In case of price, so these are the prices for them. Basically 5 numerical values for a vector. Mileage. So I have mileage like, again numerical vector. Number of cylinder, again numerical vector. And now I'm creating cars, data.frame and combining all these 4 vectors. So now when I enter cars and hit enter, it gives me a single view of all the data which I have created. So data frames are very, very useful here. So the first vector I'm going to create is type. Okay. So how I create type, it's a character vector, combine the name of the cars, okay, the type of the cars, compact, minivan, SUV, roadster, pickup truck. So the important thing is that I have to give these characters, I have to give this in quotes, right? So I'm giving it quotes, different values. So I have 5 cars. So I press enter, a type vector will be created. So now I have a requirement of another price of that, right? So price is going to be combined 36790, 3445, 66789, 2455, 76889. So this is just for the demonstration purposes. So now I'll create this time a numerical vector price. Okay. So now the next one is mileage, again a numerical vector, and then after mileage, you remember we have number of cylinders, so it's another numerical vector. So now I want to combine all these four into a data frame. Okay, so I'll remember we name that data frame as cars. So cars data dot frame, type, price, mileage, number of cylinders. So I created a data frames. So now if I want to see what is there in the data frame, cars. So you can see, I can see all the data in single view. So that's the basic, very important function of data frames. So we learned about how to create data frames. So now let's see how to select from them. Okay. So similar to vector and matrices, right? You will again use square brackets. Okay. So by using a comma, again, because it's a two-dimensional object. Okay. So for example, let's assume I created a data frame my_df. So when I say 1, 2, it selects the value of the first row and select the elements in the basically in my df. So for example, if I want to see, let me go again back. Cars is my data frame. So I'll I'll enter 1, 2, hit enter. So it tells me 1, 2, that is a price. Okay, 36790. Okay, so now if I wanted to get the range, so for example, again 1:3, 2:4, a sub df, right? So again 1:3, 2:4. I'm just seeing that. Let's see what it gives me. It will give me price, mileage, and number of cylinders, right, for first 3 rows. So that's how it is going to operate. So now example, if you remember, if I want to get all the elements from a row or a column, you remember, so we give that as a blank. So for example, if I want to see the first row and all the columns, so what I'll do, I'll give cars. Okay, so I'll give 1, blank. Okay, so it will give me first data point, that is compact. So basically for compact type, it will give me price, mileage, and number of cylinders. So that's how you operate on data frames. You create them, right, and then you use the same square brackets to extract out of them. Okay, thank you.